Hello everyone, welcome back to the full stack web development course where you will be able to learn how to build a full stack web application like a Stack Overflow clone, which we are going to build it right next after few lectures. So in this lecture we are going to learn about CSS. So you can see this is the code which we have already uh, used in the lecture 1 or the HTML basics. So we are gonna just style few parts of this page, and I'm gonna use a lot of examples to cover a lot of topics in CSS. Basically, CSS is a huge topic to learn, and there are many things to learn in CSS. So let's go by one. So, what is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. External style sheets are stored in CSS files. So, before getting into the CSS, let me just make these now working. So let me just explain how routes work in HTML. So as soon as I click the home, we should be in the home page, which is the default page. This is our home page, and we should have some contents in the about page. As soon as I click about, we have to be routed to the about page. As well as I click contact, we'll be able to route to the contact page. So to do that, we're gonna use anchor tags here. Like we will be able to use an anchor tag inside this home. So here we're just going to give an href which equals as single slash, which means the current page. As soon as I click this, so you can see we are in the IP address 127.0.0.1, which means the local host, which means the local computer, and after a colon we have a number called 5500, which is nothing but the port number on which this local server is running on. So you can see we are in the home page. If I click, we are always in the home page, we are not routed anywhere. So here we will be having the same thing. Let me just copy this thing, paste it down here. So we need this around here as well as here. So let me just copy this thing again and paste it down here. So now let me just clear this as well as clear this. So now here I'm just going to give as about.html. So here I'm just going to give contact.html. So if I just click about, and I have to be routed to the about page. If I just click contact, I'm just going to be routed to the contact page. So where are these pages? We have to create these pages by going to the Explorer, hit the plus file symbol, which means new file. Just name it as contact.html, and I'm just going to have another file called about.html. So we want to go to this about. We are already in this about. Let me just close this Explorer. In this about page, so we coded this doc type, HTML head, these things, but there's a shortcut in VS Code. We can use that. So hit the not symbol, which means this exclamatory symbol, and just hit and enter. So VS Code auto completes everything which I need. So here are few extra tags which I haven't taught you. So the meta tags are used for SEO as well as the responsiveness of this web page. Responsiveness means uh, if I'm viewing this website in a computer with a monitor of sizes of a 32-inch, the web page is gonna be a bigger one. And if I just put it in a 12-inch laptop, then the web page might be collapsed. If I just open it in a mobile phone browser, then the web page might be collapsed a lot. We will see what is responsiveness using CSS in the forthcoming lectures. So until then, don't get stressed up by seeing this meta tags. Just leave it away. So here we will be having the title tag. Instead of documents, we will be just having the about page, and in the body I'm just going to give a h1 with about, as well as in the contact I'm just going to copy this thing. I'm just going to go to the contact page and paste it this thing up, and just do a contact and copy this and just going to paste it down here. So we just hit this about. So you can see I'm just routed to this about page, as well as if I just click this contact, I have been routed to this contact page. So that's it. So this is how routing works in HTML. So now let me just go to the index.html and we will just get into the CSS part. So in CSS, we can write CSS in three ways in HTML. We can write it in inline, like we have already used style equals to background color equals aqua and the color equals green here, which means this is nothing but inline CSS. We are writing CSS as a style with a style attribute inside a particular tag called A. In that CSS, we are just giving a background color and as well as a color for that button, something like that. So this is nothing but an inline CSS. If you want to maintain the same CSS for these links also, then what we have to do, we're just gonna copy this thing and paste it down here. So you can see, let me just refresh this. You can see, oh, something went off. Here is an extra line. Wait, let me just see what happened here. There might be another closing tag. That's it. Okay. So we still have some errors. Oops, the UL tag has been closed here. Let me just copy this thing and close it up as well. So I think now everything is clear. So yeah. So you can see the same CSS to link to Facebook I have applied in the home. So instead of doing this thing like this, we can reuse the code by I'm just going to cut this out, and we can do one thing. We go to the header and sorry, we are not going to the header. We're going to the head tag, and here we can just have a tag called style, and inside that we can just select all the A tags and give it a style like a background color, color as blue and color as aqua. So you can see in the web page now, we have selected all the 8 tags in the web page, which means home, about and contact. We have applied a background color and a font color. So, but link to Facebook is also an A tag, but why it doesn't got this style? Instead, it got a different style because we have styled it here. We have specifically we have just made another style for this particular component here. So it makes our life really simple. We don't want to write these things separate inline for every a tags here. Instead we can just do it here. And as well, I can just apply these this style by just I can just provide a class name for this link, like class which equals a button. So now I can just select this class, as I have selected this tag here using the tag name. I have selected all the a tags. Now I can select all the uh, class name which has the class name button, like this. So here I have selected all the class name with button. So this a tag has the class name of button, but before declaring a class name, we just have to give a dot, which is a convention, which is not a convention, which is a syntax. So here I can just apply that background color as well as the color. So you can see now it has been updated here, linked to Facebook. So this thing background color is a property and blue is a value. Color is a property, aqua is a value, and this colon as well as semicolon and these curlies are syntax. And this A is a selector. This A tag is nothing but a selector, and this button is also a selector, but here I am selecting using a class name. So the next thing, how we are gonna just comment in uh, style. We can just comment by using slash star star slash. You can write anything in between. This way of commenting is also used in Java, C, etc. and so on. So we can just have something like style for button, like so. And and so there is a third way of using styles inside HTML. We can just put these styles, excuse me, we can just put every styles inside a separate file and we will just import that file here. So let me just show how we can do that. We can just create another file called style.css, and inside that file we can just copy these things and paste it down here. So now in the HTML file we can exclude everything. Let me just close this, and here I can just use a tag called link. So now this link tag has auto completed that the rel equals style sheet, which means what we are gonna use in this href is a style sheet. So CSS is a style sheet. So the href is gonna be slash style.css. So now you can see it has been applied here. Let me just comment this line by hitting command slash or control slash, you can see the styles has went off. Now let me just uncomment this, so you can see the styles has been applied here. This is a better way of using styles inside HTML because it makes our code more readable. So now let me just get rid of these styles which is unneeded for our web page because this is not a better looking web page. So now what we do, we are gonna just uh, we gonna just talk about borders. We have just already talked about background color as well as color. Now we will get to another topic called border. But before getting into border, we will just use something like padding and margin. What is margin? So this property name is margin, and we do have margin, margin top, margin left, margin bottom, and margin right. So what this margin is gonna be? We can just give a 10 px. Px is nothing but a unit in CSS. We will learn about that in this later of this lecture. So you can see for the button class I have applied the margin as 10 px. So let me just refresh it here. So you can see there are some space above and left to this link to Facebook button because you can see this level is this link to Facebook might be straight to this level, but it is not. So to make things clear, let me just give a big size like 100 px. So now you can see that here the margin is given as 100 px towards the left as well as towards the bottom as well as towards the right as well as towards the top. But it is not visible here as well as the top for the top as well as the bottom, but it is applied in the right because since we don't have any items here, it is not visible. So to visualize this, we can just go right click in the browser and go to the inspect element. In the inspect element, let me just show. You can see this is the entire code what we have done so far. Inside the head, we'll be having the title as my first HTML code is here, as well as have linked it to the style sheet, and inside the body we have a header called this is my HTML code, and the neighbor as well as the section as well as an article as well as an aside as well as the footer. So we will go to this article. Inside that we'll be having the button. Let me just make it a bit. So you can see on the left and the right margin has been applied successfully. So it is not applied to the margin top and bottom because we haven't give a height as well as width to this article. Let me just explain this again. So here before this button, we will just first select the article by just article, and we will just give a height as 500 px and a width of 500 px. So So you can see there's a lot of space here because we will just find this article. You can find this article, and now you can see here is a lot of space allocated for this article. It shows like 500 px into 500 px because we have provided a height and width as a 500 px. That's why we are providing this height to occupy contents inside this link to Facebook. So now let me just close this and just close, and we'll just remove this as of now. To demonstrate, I have included that we don't need this. Let me just improve the code size. And now there is another thing called padding in padding property, which means so let me just give a 20 px as of now. So you can see there is a lot of space between this text and the edge of this edges. This is because this length is nothing but 20 px because we have provided a padding for these text. Oh no. So because we have provided a padding for this text link to Facebook text as 20 px, so we have provided 20 px here, 20 px here, 20 px here, 20 px here, but we can customize all around, like there is a padding left, we can just give it as 10 px, and padding top as 20 px, and padding bottom as 30 px, and padding bottom, sorry, I have already used the bottom. You can just have right as 40 px. You can see I have allotted different sizes for every padding left, bottom, top. You can see on the left there's only 10 px, here 20 px, here 30, as well as here 40. So this is how we can play with padding. Instead of declaring it separately, we can just give it everything in a single line, like the first value here is gonna be for the top as 10 px, and the second value is gonna be for the right, and the third value is gonna be for the bottom, and the fourth value is gonna be for the left. So you can see the top we have given 10 px, right we have given 20, 30 and 40 here. And if you don't if you want two colors, two same values on the top and bottom, as well as and a single value for same value for left and right, and the same value for top and bottom, we can just declare as 20 px on top and bottom and 40 px on left and right. 20, the first value is for top and bottom, and the second value is for the left and right. You can see in the top we have provided 10, and the bottom we have provided 10, sorry 20, and towards the left and right we have provided 40. So the next thing is like something called the border. So the first value on border is nothing but solid, which is nothing but we are providing a border first. You can see here is a line going through this button. You can see that, I think so. You can see here is a line going through this. So since I am just going to make this thing as a button, so let me just wait, let me just comment these things out. Let me just convert it to a simple link. I'm I'm just going to index.html. Since I'm just going to make this thing as a button, instead of using a tag, I can use a button tag like a button, and inside that we'll be having a copy and link to Facebook. But we can use this button tag to do things, make that click. But you can just route this link to Facebook to this facebook.com, because the button tag doesn't have an attribute called href. The help of href attribute only you can route to the Facebook. So let me just comment it. So you can see this comment button here. You got a simple button here. We can style this button also. Let me just show how to style this button also. We'll go to the styles and let me just remove this button class. So now you can see the margin on the right also. So now the second value for the border property is nothing but the thickness of the border. If I can just give like 5 px, you can see the border thickness have been increased to 5 px, but usually I would like to leave it as a 1 px like this, or a 2 px, which will be a lot more. So now this thing looks good. Now let me just so the third value for this border property is nothing but the color of the border. We can leave the color for the border as black like this. So here I have provided a black color for this border. So the next property is nothing but a border radius. So border radius is used to reduce the sharpness of the edges of this border. So I can just give a value of 5 px. So you can see it has been a little bit curved at the edges. So off of the thick, giving 50% for this it makes a oval for us, giving it as a 50% value, because this is a rectangle. If we convert this, it will convert into a oval. Excuse me. So let me just reduce this margin size to 50 px. Okay, and we will just leave this as a 10 px. So now this looks a lot better. The edges look a lot better. So now we will also reduce this padding to 10 px as well as 20 px. Okay, this looks a lot more good. Now the next thing we are going to cover. So here is also another thing. Without using a border, we can use this border radius. So let me just comment this border comment out. So you can see the border is removed, but we can still have the border radius. So the next thing we are going to see is nothing but the typography. In typography, we have a lot of properties. First thing we want to see is font size. We can give a font size. Here are some default values: large, larger, medium, small, small, extra large, extra small, extra large, as well as extra small. We can use larger. You can see the size has been improved here, and we can remove this underscore by just giving a text decoration as none. So this underline is nothing but a decoration for that text. We have a lot of decorations like we have a dashed decoration, dotted, double, line through, none, vowel line, as well as solid underline, which is the default thing. So you can have dashed. So it is not updated here. Let me just see. So as of now, we'll just leave it as a none. We will get to that later. So now we will just change this text color, which looks ugly. So we will just give a black color, which will be good. So by default it is a black color. So let me just change like blue. I can just give a blue. So now the next thing I can give in typography is nothing but text font family. I can change the family here. It default it will be in sans. So I can just go to Arial. So you can see the font is different for this link to Facebook now. So the next thing is so that's all about font typography. We will learn these additional things when we implement our live project. So the next thing I have to cover is styling a container. So consider before getting into that, we can just style this button also. We can just go to here. We have used the button tag. So let me just open. Here I can use the button. So here I have selected the button tag. So make things clear. This is a button class. This is a button tag. I can just have this entire thing here also. That's it. You can see the both of this thing is same now. You can see it has got a margin top as well as a margin bottom now. Okay, which looks cool. This is nothing but the responsiveness of this web page. So it converges as the web page shrinks. So now we will just style this section. We will just make this thing as a separate container. So to do that, we do have this in the section, the hello world, the image, as well as the p tag. Now let me just let me just remove this width of 300. We will style this thing in the CSS. So let me just give a class name as image. So now I have just selected this image. So now we have a new properties called width and height, which I have discussed here. We can just give a width as well as height for any things like a simple container, a web page, a image. For anything we can just give a width and height for this entire web page, this simple image, as well as for this navbar, or this container, or, or for this article container, anything we can give. So here the width for this image is going to be 300 px, as well as height is going to be auto. Auto means it will maintain the same ratio for what the width is going to be for 300 px, then what is the height for 300 px, what is the calculated height. So it will be an auto. So now we have minimized the image size. Now what we do, we have properties like border radius here also, like border radius of 50% will make an oval, because for a square a border radius of 50% makes a circle. For a rectangle it will make a border radius as a oval. So now let me just make this thing as a 20 px, so that it may look cool. So you can see it has been curved now. So let me just put this thing on the right side, attach this thing in the towards the right. There is a property called float, and float value is going to be right. So you can see the image is now on the right side of everything. We will just put this image on the right. This is nothing but a property called float. So now we don't need this to be on. So we can just leave this thing as it is. So now let me just give another class name, select this section, and let me just have to write height and width. Height we can calculate that this is already a 300 px, this could be almost 50 px, and this could be almost 200 px or 150 px. So let me just give 700 px as an entire height. So I think it is a lot more, because these buttons are here. It is almost double the size. They have given more size here. So let me just make this as 500. Yes, or even smaller, 200 or 300. CSS is all about experimenting things. You have to do a trial and error method. You have to keep on giving values until the value is correct. So here now this looks good for us. Now we will proceed with we can even give a background for color for this section, like I can say a color of azure. Sorry, I have to give a background color dash color and the color is not going to be assured, which is almost equal to white. It is not at all bit visible here. So we will remove this and we will give a bolder color to explain to you guys, like light cyan. So now we can just give a background color to any element in the web page like this, and and there are we don't want to directly name this color name. You can we can just give a hex code here or an RGB or an HSL. There are three types of values. If you just hover over this box, color box here in the VS Code, it will just open a color picker here. We can just navigate to any color what we want. We can go to anything, drop it down here or anywhere what you want actually. And this is nothing but RGB standard. So the first thing is red value, the second thing is a green value, and the fourth thing is nothing but a blue value. And there's another thing called hex code. Hex code has an hash value, the first thing, and consecutive six values, six or 0 to 6 values. And there is another thing called HSL. So we can also have HSL, but I will like to use RGB as well as the hex code. I like that pretty much. So now for our content, we will just leave it as a light cyan, as well as we can give the Xcode value also. So now we will just style this navbar. For styling the navbar, we are gonna need flex. There is something called flex box in CSS, which is an important topic in CSS. Before getting into that, we will be discussing what is display in CSS. So, there is something called inline in CSS. Sorry, display in CSS. To to demonstrate that, let me just select this li tag. So here I can just select the li and I can just give a display of. You can see VS Code recommends display of block contents flexbox, which I have told earlier, flow root grid, which is grid is also an important topic in CSS, inline block flexbox, and this data. So wow, so if we just click block, the li tags are already in a block. We can just give an inline which is opposite to block. So inline puts everything line by line. What we need for a navbar? For a navbar, we need everything should be in a line by line, not one below one. Like display block provides a one by one content. You can see the content is now one by one, but we don't need that. For a navbar, we need inline, so which puts every contents one by one side by side. But so that is all about block and inline, but we don't use inline as well as block. We would like to use flex. So flex display flex blindly puts. So display flex don't work on the li tag. Let me just explain with another example. So let me just comment this thing out, and we will just go to the contact page here, and let me just remove this. To explain that, to explain flex, we will be just using a div tag, and inside that, let me just have a few other div tags like a div one. So let me just copy this thing, repeat it several times. We just use 6 things. We will just use 4, 5, and a 6. Div is a block tag because you can see it is one by one. So now we will give a class as a flex dash container like this, and we can just give a class for this div as flex elements. So let me just copy here several times. So now let me just use this flex container. So we have to just import this, so we can just do a link tag in the header. We'll just say style.css like this, and just save this thing. So now we will just go here, and this is a flex container which is a class name, so I have to give a dot in front. So I can just give a height of 200 px and a width of also 200 px. So, and I'm just going to give a background color as aquamarine. So we will just make this thing a lot bigger. So we can just give a height of 400 and a width of 400 like this, and we can just give a border solid 1px as well as, sorry, we will just give a 3px and a color of black. So we have just had the border, and let me just select these individual elements inside. So I have named it as flex dash elements, and let me just give a height of I can give a height of 50px and a width of 50px like this, and so instead of giving a height as well as a width, I can do another thing. I can just give a, instead I don't want to give this width, I can just leave it with a height, and I can just give a background color of blue, and I will just give a color of white. Okay, it's cool. Now, so sorry, it's not cool. We will make it cool. Don't worry. Now we will go to the flex container, and we will just say display as flex. So you can see now everything. Wait, we will just give a border for this thing also. Solid 2px and color as white. So now you can see everything has been put side by side. If we just comment this thing, you can see now everything is one below one. Now we just uncomment this display flex. Now everything has been put side by side. So everything is now side by side. Let me just give a width for this as 50px. So now you can see now display flex has put my uh, boxes side by side. So uh, there is a if I want it one below one again, I can just give a flex direction as column. So now the direction is column wise. If I just uncomment the column, the direction is row wise. So we will leave it in the row wise as well as now. There is another property called justify content as center. Let me show what it gives. So you can see justify content center puts all the boxes in center horizontally. So this is horizontal length. What justify content center has done? It has put all the boxes in the center. And there is something called align item center. So I can give align items as center. What align items have done here? Align items have put every boxes vertically center. This is the vertical length. So this thing has put every boxes vertically center. So we made our boxes in the center of this page of this container. So there is a value called space between for this justify content. You can see space between gives space in between every boxes. These are equal spaces on every between that. So there is another value called space evenly, which give even spaces on all the sides, on all the edges. Like there's a space here, there's a space here, which have even spaces. But space in between leaves only space in between the boxes, not between the container and the box. There is another value called space around, which gives an uneven value. You can see the space between the container and the box is less compared to the space between the box as well as box. So we have three values to play around in justify content. So what happens when I give a bigger space, bigger width for this individual box? Let me just experiment that. We will be just give 100. So you can see everything is now side by side. There is no space between these things, but we can give. So if we just exceed the width, so if we just give 1000 px, what happens? There's no change in the width. Why? There's no change. I need 1000 px width, but why it is not? So we can what we can do is that we can take the box one, we can give 1000 px side. So if that completes the first row, we can go to the second box in the second row, like that. We can do something like that. To complete that, we have a property called wrap, flex wrap. There's a property called flex wrap, and if we give wrap, then we will see what it does. So let me just increase this to 500. No, we don't need 500, we will just give 100. So now you can see 100. So it will try to place one by one the first box with 100 px and the second box with 100 px and third box with 100 px. So for the fourth box there's no space here, so we will go to the next row. So we have here, we will go to the sixth box and sixth box. For the seventh box there will be no space, so we will go to the next row. But in this case we don't have the seventh box, so which is a good option to use a flex wrap. And there is another property called flex group. So the group is for individual items. We will just go through that when we jump into the live project. So as of now this is okay with the flex. This is all, these are the core concepts in flex what we have to cover. Now let me just go back to the home page, and we can just design the navbar now. So now the navbar is ugly here, so to fix that we can first select the nav. So instead of selecting the nav we can just select this UL. So this has to be not UL, it has to be an LI. Sorry, this should be an UL, not LI. Let me just uncomment. I have put display flex. Now you can see everything is side by side now. So I don't need this bulletin anymore. So let me just remove that by list style as none. So now these bulletins went off. So now let me just give a height and width for this UL. So we just going to have a height as 50 px or an 80 px, and the width is by default. So it is I think it's a bigger height. We will just give a background color first to visualize that. We'll just give a background color of black. So it is also reflected here because the UL is also applied here. That's why we need a class name for this UL as we can just provide a class name called class name as navbar. So let me just copy this. So let me just replace this thing. So the navbar, but with this. Yes, okay. Now here in the display flex, what this thing gap is, why this gap is occurring, because this is nothing but the margin for this 8x. So let me just reduce this to 50 px, which is enough for us now, and we will just align the item center. Align item center provides align item center provides horizontal center and justify contents as space around, sorry, even we will give it space even. So now here extra gap arises, we can just inspect that what the thing is here. You can just go to the inspect, and this thing is nothing but so here we do have a margin block stored something like that for 1M. Let me just so I can't uncheck these things. So here what we need to do, I will say wait, hold on, wait for that. I know how to fix that. So here we will just uh, change this font styles like we will go here and we can just give a background color of none and a color of white, color of white and uh, what we need to remove that underscore. Think for a minute and then continue. Yes, we need text decoration to be none. Yes, so we remove that underscores. So that's it. Now, since we have removed that, now our navbar looks better. Everything is in the center. Now you can see that there is extra spaces in our web page. So you can see here is an extra space, here is an extra, here is an extra space, as well as here there is extra margin. So fix these things. We can do one thing. We will select the body tag and we can just say the margin to be 0 for every tags inside, and then we can just give a box sizing as border box. So that's how we can fix this issue. So now everything is at the edge. So to fix this place we can just go ahead and copy this and margin 0 and leave it out here. So now this should fix our issue. So it is the same. I think this is because of using the UL tag, whatever, but we don't use the UL tag nowadays while using while creating an Amber. So okay. So the next thing what we have to do is the asset tag, but before that we will just get into this footer and we will just complete this footer. So we'll select this footer and we'll paste this footer and let me just give a height as height as 10 px and the width as I don't want the width to be provided because I need the default width for the entire page, as well as I can give a background color as black and color as white. Okay, you can see here the height is not enough. We can just give a 30 px or a 20 px. So there is another typographical property called text alignment. Text align. We'll just align this to a center. So now our text is put at center. So we will just move this thing towards the bottom of the page, where every page contains the footer at the bottom. So let me just do that. We can just give a float of bottom. I think there is no value like this bottom. Let me just see. So if I just refresh, nothing happens. What we can do, we can just give a min height for this entire body as what is a min height? So min height is nothing but the minimum height for this body element. The body element, body tag is nothing but the entire web page. So this min height is going to be 100 VH. VH is nothing but the view height, which expands to view height. View is like if I am viewing this in a monitor of 32-inch, then this VH is nothing but the entire screen. If it is a 12-inch laptop, it is going to be the entire screen. If it is a 6-inch mobile phone, it is going to be the entire screen. That is what VH means. So it doesn't work because this thing is not like that. This float to bottom won't work like that. So, but this min height should have been worked, but I don't know. I can just go through the code once. You can see body has been provided the minimum height of the 100px, but since we don't have a lot of components, the footer is stuck in between. We will fix that issue after styling this aside. If we style this aside, then it will be at the bottom. Let me just show how it is. So I don't want this thing to be here. I need this section and sidebar as a section and article as a sidebar here, like a sidebar, something like this. So to do that, we have to make a few changes in the code. We'll just get this, copy this thing, cut it out, and display this thing below the entire code. So now let me just copy this thing, go to the styles and dot paste, and now the inside. Sorry, this is not a class name, so let me just remove that. So now the aside is going to have a float of value as left, like so. So now these things has to be left here. This should go all the way up to here. So to do that, we will give a minimum height for this as an calc of 100 VH minus almost I have used 50 here, almost 100 px. So you can see I have provided a size for this. Let me just change the color as a background color to while blue to display that. You can see this here. So let me just change this color to pale golden rod, like that. So what does this calc means? I'm just going to calculate this 100 VH, which is the entire web page size, and this new 100x. 100x. Why I'm just going need this 100x. I'm just going to need this for this and this. That's why I left a bit space here, because this is going to be applied here all around here. That's why I have done that. So usually in website, this sidebar is used while toggling these things. Like here will be a hamburger bun icon. If I just click, the sidebar will appear and it will be go off. I know the web page is still missing many things. It is clumsy. You can see here is some space. This is because this hello world got a margin height. That's why it looks like that. So if we need to fix that, we will go to that section. Where is the section I have style? So it is here. So now, so guys, this lecture is not to style create a website or web page. It's just to teach things to you, what these individual properties mean, these margin display, everything means, and what are the values we could use. That's why I'm doing this. In the live project, or CSS is going to be a full-fledged thing, and it will be really very attractive. It's going to be like that. That's why I will promise that. So we are missing out on one thing. There is something called selectors in CSS. So this body is nothing but a selector. I have selected this body type using the name called body, and this class name is used as a selector. Now we are just selecting a class name called button with the help of a dot button, like that. So we there is some other things other than selector, like there are combinators. A CSS selector can contain more than one simple selector. Between the simple selectors, we can include a combinator. So it's like if I want to select this particular p tag inside this section. I don't want to select. I have used this p tag enumerator, so let's just have a p tag here also to just showcase. Let's just copy this or cut this out and paste it here. So you can see this is a p tag here now, and these things are also p tag. Now if I just want to change this family font family of this thing alone, not this thing, so what I have to do, if I just use only the p tag as a selector, if I just use p tag only as a selector, then both of this font family will be changed. So wait, let me just show. You can just use it in the bottom like this. So if I just gonna have a font family, sorry, I don't need this font size, I just need a font family. So I can just use a flashy like a cursive. So now this p tag is also cursive, this p tag is also cursive. So why I need only this thing to be cursive, not this thing. So to do that, we can use CSS combinator, like I need to select this p tag only inside this section. So I can just say a section and a p. So now you can see this p tag is not having this font family. So what is this? This is a selector, this is a combinator. The space around, the space between these things is nothing but a combinator. So I have selected all the p tags inside selection section, sorry, section. So I have selected all the p tags inside this section. So and also I can, so let me just go to this contact page. So how do we route that? I can just go to the contact page. So here let me just select this particular, let me just so if I want to just select this first div tag, not the rest of the things, I don't want to select the rest of the div tags, I need to select this only div tag. If we do like a div inside a div, it will disturb everything. So like a div, sorry, we don't want to use this div because we have the name called flex container. We will just copy this thing and paste it down here, and the dot flex dash elements as well, and just close this curly. So the flex container, so I have selected all the flex elements inside this flex container, and I'm just going to give a background color of red. So you can see everything is now disturbed, but I need only this first box to be in red and rest of things to be in blue. So to do that, we can use greater than symbol, which selects every child. But to select the first thing, we can just have nth child of 1. Sorry, uh, we gonna use this nth child here, nth child of 1. So now what we have done, we have went into this flex container, which is the entire thing. Into that we too have the flex elements, 6 boxes, and the inside one is the first box, and this first box is nothing but the red color, and the rest of things is nothing but the blue. So it's like there are a lot more of combinators which is used to select. Uh, there's one thing called so if I want to select the image next to this h1 tag, so wait, let me just to showcase that selector, we'll just have a p tag here also as some gibberish words. Okay, we'll just show the previous thing, so you can see that gibberish word is here. So if we want to make this a different font family other than this, not disturbing this, how we can do that? We can go to the CSS and we can just this is inside this section, and near the h1 we can just go into the set. We are inside the section, and now we are selecting the h1, and we are selecting the adjacent sibling of h1, which is going to be the p tag, and we will just going to give a font family font family of Shigo UI, something like that. So you can see what we have done here. We have entered into this section whole thing, which is in blue color, and we have just selected this H1, which is nothing but the hello world, and we have selected the next. This plus means is nothing. This plus means the adjacent sibling of H1. The adjacent sibling of H1 is nothing but P. We can see this H adjacent sibling of H1 is P. That's how we can select this thing and provide a different font family. And there is also another sibling selector. So we can use like this is the another sibling selector which selects all the siblings which is next to the hello word, just nothing with this p tag as well as this p tag. That's all. That's why it has selected that. So there is another child selector. There's a child selector which is nothing but greater than symbol. Also greater than symbol. So which selects all the childs of p of, of section, which selects all the child element which matches p of section and provides the font family of CUI. So there is something called the concept of pseudo classes in CSS. So we can just showcase that using these buttons here by. So you can see this button is using a link tag, this button using a button tag. So while I hover on this link to Facebook, my cursor becomes a pointer. On this it doesn't. So what I can do, I can go up here and in the button I can just add a cursor of pointer which makes some magic for us. So if I just hover on this button, it gives a pointer for us. So instead of rewriting the code for the link button and the button, I can just do one thing. So let me just remove this and I can just have a dot button comma and the button. So what is this means, this comma? So this CSS is common for both this dot button class as well as this button. That's it, what it means. That's what it means. So now I have to explain you about pseudo class. What is a pseudo class? So using this only I can explain that. So let me just copy this. So now I'm just going to select this button and here I'm just going to use a pseudo class called hover and on hover I'm just going to give a background of beige. So if I just hover on this link to Facebook, the background color has been changed to beige. That's what this pseudo class called hover means. And then there is another pseudo class called active. So we will just include this button also here, like active. So active is while the time when I click. So if I just click this button, it turns into a color of beige. That's it. That's what happens. And here I can have hover. So if I just hover on this link to Facebook, it transforms into another color. Here I click it. That's it. That's what these two pseudo classes mean. So so this so here I have used this nth child, which is also a pseudo class. So if we're just going to contact, we have this nth child is also a pseudo class. So not only the first thing, I can select the fourth box like that, as well as a sixth box. So if I just want the first thing, I can just name. So wait, let me just leave it as a fourth one. Let me just copy this and paste it again. So here I can give another pseudo class called first child like this, and let me just give a color of purple for that. So what I have done here, I have selected the first box by the flex items gives the all the six items, and I have used a pseudo class called first child, which is nothing but this first box, and I have just given a color of purple. That's it. So like this, we have another pseudo class called. We will remove this. Let me just remove this last child. Last child, and I can just give another color called green, like so. So this is how we can play with this pseudo classes. There are a lot of pseudo classes. You can refer W3 schools or developer.mozilla.org, which is known as MDN docs. So which is famous resources available out there in the internet. You can use that, so you can get familiar with the CSS as well as HTML using that. And the next thing what we are going to look out is something so that's it for this CSS part 1 tutorial. um, we will cover things like transform, which is used in animation, as well as CSS animations transform. We have two topics, and as well as we have position, which is another new topic. We have three topics in CSS. We will cover that in the next lecture. Thank you.